Adrian, let's get into some of the individual performances. Let's talk Eberechi Eze. I don't know, you know, it was rumoured in the summer that he had some kind of conversations with Tottenham over a potential move. Yeah. I don't know what they'd done to him during those conversations, but they really upset him, didn't they? Because he seems to turn up.
You know what, they didn't upset him, they just didn't go for him. They just waited and waited and waited and thought we'd get you on the cheek.
He didn't want to go there. Look, it was one of those, he was just waiting for Arsenal to come in and swoop, and thankfully we did. And
well, he phoned up Arteta, didn't he?
He did, himself, yeah, exactly, and I'm glad he did. I mean, his performances across both North London derbies were special, weren't they? He's equalled Ted Drake's record from 1934-35, scoring 5 times in a single season against Spurs. No, he was outstanding, wasn't he? I think if you play in that 10 role, and this was a really orthodox 10 role, because we had Rice and Symeou that were flat 2. He was the guy, central. And I think you've got to play quite high to affect the game. Make sure you get into the box. He obviously got into the box for both the goals. He wins the ball. He started to win the ball better than he did earlier on in the season. We saw that in the build-up to his second. But yeah, I just thought once he scored the first, Eze grew 3 inches taller. He started to have a little bit of swagger about him. It was like his stage. And some of the little touches and flicks and passes around the corner were a joy to watch. There was that one dribble where he nutmegged João Palhinha and raced through and had a shot. I mean, he was absolute class. But he set the bar now, Eze. That has to be the level. You can't just do it twice a season against Spurs. He has to play with that drive, that purpose, that swagger against everyone. And if he does, Martin Ødegaard won't get back in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, only Robert Pires and Emmanuel Adebayor have scored more Premier League goals for Arsenal in North London derbies. And that was only Eberechi Eze's second. Perry, what did you make of his display? What was your kind of take on it? Because I think Adrian makes some great points there. It did feel like he grew taller, and it felt like... I sort of saw it during the Wigan game, actually. I know it was Wigan in the Cup and people don't really put too much on that, but it felt like it was the I deserve to be here kind of performance. Like he had a different demeanour about him. Do you see that as well?
Yep, I think as well, you've got to give Arteta a bit of credit because he's had a couple of times where he's got the hook on it at half-time, where Aston Villa was like the one that, remember, when Matty Cash scores, he doesn't do his defensive duties. So I think he realised that he wasn't at the standards that he wants to be at. And you're judged at a different level, like at Arsenal. He could have a bad half, Crystal Palace, and it doesn't matter because he knows he's going to play week in, week out, because the fans love him and he'll produce something. You can't have a bad half for Arsenal. It doesn't work that way because there's other players that are on your level that the manager just goes, right, you can come off, like you go on. I think with Arteta went, I trust you. And as a player, it's a weird... You get a feeling sometimes of maybe grounds that you play at or teams that you play against. You have like your sort of memory recall, which is positivity. And against Spurs, before the game, he'd scored 6 in his last 4 games against, but now it's obviously 8 in 5. So I think even with Arteta, I think he thought he gets a good feeling about when he plays against Spurs. And what you want him to do is you can tell that he was a bit inhibited before because he's trying to get used to the defensive stuff and the closer. But I think what Arteta and as a team, what we did well is when we pressed and we won it, it wasn't formulaic. There was loads of different movement, there was fluidity, like Saka coming off the right and then Eze would come across. Declan Rice wasn't making his sort of lung-busting runs into the channels, but that enabled Gyökeres to get himself into the channels a lot more. So I just think with Eze, you know when he's on it, when he has that little where he lets the ball roll across his body, you know, when he has that little feint. Jack Wilshere was brilliant at it when he just let it roll. Eze's brilliant when he just has a little feint, he lets it roll, and he has another little touch.
Quick, isn't he?
And then he plays, exactly. And he's a strong runner. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, with his second goal, it was him who actually fed Bukayo Saka at first, but Van der Ven gets a brilliant tackling. But Eze, instead of watching it, then he actually carries on and he gets himself into the box. And that's when he can... So that's when you know that he's not overthinking stuff. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, say, as a player, you get tense and you keep thinking, what if I had that? What if that? As a defender, you've got to think what ifs. But when you're a forward, sometimes you just got to free your brain up and go, right, I'm off. And I thought that he looked like he was flowing in his head and then that transmitted itself to his body. And he'd say some of his little touches were brilliant. So he'll be in the Arsenal fans' hearts like for the rest of life. You get 5 goals in one season. But you want to be remembered as remember when Eze got 5 goals in one season against that mob and we won the title.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the and bit.
I was obviously delighted with his performance yesterday, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't play devil's advocate a little bit. So, Adrian...
Oh, here we go, comes a downer. Here we go. What are we going to be down about?
It's not a downer, it's not a downer.
Harry.
It's a question. It's a question.
I tell you what, Harry, if you won the lottery, you'd probably think I won a roll-up, though, was it? I've only won 7 mil.
It's just a question. It's the host's job. Look, we saw him score a hat-trick in the first North London derby of the season, and we thought at that stage this was lift-off point for Eze, right? But it wasn't, if we're being honest. And his performances weren't up to the standard that we all expected. Yeah. So what gives you confidence this time, Adrian, that this is him turning a corner and it's not just another good one-off performance? I feel more confident that he can pick up from it this time, but people will want to know that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. He doesn't know. It's down to him. As I said, he's got to maintain that level of drive. He's got to play with that freedom. He's got to not overthink it. I think by now he should know his role and responsibility with the manager. I think it helped being a central 10 rather than being on the sides. Because when you're on the sides, you do have to get back a little bit more, and particularly when a fullback gets forward. And I think that's where he sometimes lets himself down. I think maybe we learned, and maybe Arteta learned, that this is his best position. And I like him high. And I'll tell you why I like our number 10s high. And that's because, especially against the back three, is because you want to draw one of the centre-backs out. And over again, because Spurs went man-to-man, often it was Eze, sometimes it was Trossard. They'd just come short into midfield, they'd bring a centre-back with them and then free up space for someone else. It's a really important part of the role. But no, look, in terms of what he does between now and the end of the season, it's up to him. Eze has got the ability to drive Arsenal towards the Premier League title. If he plays like that between now and the end of the season, he will be remembered as one of the key players in a title success. But the ball is in Eze's court. He's got the talent to do it.
Do you agree with that, Perry? Is it on him? Is there a tactical element about it as well? Because I agree with Adrian that there was an adjustment there yesterday.
Yeah, but I think he's further down the line in his tactical awareness than he was. Obviously, he scored his hat-trick. So he's had to dig deep with himself because he knew that he wasn't at the levels. And I've just read an article about him saying that he's always the last to leave it from training. I think him and Christian Norgard are always doing a little bit extra or whatever. And he's a very humble man off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that he probably remind himself where he's come from. Obviously getting released by Arsenal and then obviously going into non-league and then obviously QPR and then like Palace. So he hasn't had it easy in his journey and he probably just thinks, right, this is my time now. I haven't got any doubts. I never had doubts about him because I knew there was an adjustment of you. This is pressure. And Arteta said, didn't he, on Friday or Saturday, this is a pressure time. You're at Arsenal. If you can't handle the pressure, then basically go somewhere else. Yeah. That is it. But I think as well, as I said, playing him, but as well he knows if he doesn't reach that level, and then even though he wasn't playing very well, it was nothing to do with his lack of effort. It was, he was still trying to do his job off the ball. He knows full well, if he doesn't stay worst ways out when you're playing for our first team, you've got to be a 7. You've got to be a 7. Then every now and again you'll be an 8 and 9. If you're not at that level, 7, 7.5, 8, then Martin Ødegaard comes in and there's no drop-off.
Yeah, the Spurs games were both pressure games. So because all eyes were on him because of the links in the summer, etc. Especially the first one, delivers with a hat-trick, delivers this one. So I don't necessarily think it's about pressure. An element of it is pressure, but I think he can handle it. It's the quality of the opposition, isn't it? Like, Spurs aren't a very good team. We want to now see him influence the Man City match in that way, the Chelsea match in that way. That's the next big challenge. But I think he's ready to do it.
The thing is, the big games, I think it will suit him in the big games because Man City aren't going to sit deep and, defend and try and... Not like when he went, like...
Well, they did at Emirates.
He's Pep Bassett, wasn't he, like 4-4-2. But that was Pep Guardiola going, we're not as good as you. Yeah. But he ain't going to do that, obviously, at the Etihad this time and Chelsea on Sunday. They will come and think they've got a chance. Yeah. So I think when that happens, like we found with us in Europe, when teams are a little bit more expansive, that does us a massive favour.